In the dead of winter 1900, 3 men vanished from a remote Scottish island, leaving behind a mystery that still haunts us today. Eileen Moor, part of the Flannan Isles, sits 20 miles off Scotland's coast, a tiny rock battered by relentless storms, home only to a lighthouse guiding ships through treacherous seas. Built to withstand nature's fury, it stood as a beacon of hope in the vast, unforgiving Atlantic. Its keepers were James Ducat, the seasoned principal keeper, Thomas Marshall, his dependable assistant, and Donald MacArthur, the occasional hand, 3 men bound by duty and isolation. They lived a quiet, disciplined life, tending the light that kept mariners safe. But on December 26, 1900, a relief crew arrived to find silence. Inside, an untouched meal sat cold on the table, a clock stood frozen, and the logbook lay eerily incomplete. No trace, no struggle, just questions. What force, natural or otherwise, could erase 3 men from a locked tower in the middle of the sea? The Flannan Isles lighthouse holds its secrets tight, daring us to uncover the truth. The Flannan Isles sit like forgotten shards in the Atlantic, 20 miles west of Scotland's Outer Hebrides. 7 rocky outcrops, with Eileen Moor the largest. Just a mile of unforgiving stone, its cliffs plunging into a restless sea. In 1900, this was a place beyond reach. No trees, no warmth, only the howl of wind and the ceaseless crash of waves. At its heart stood the lighthouse, a lone beacon against the chaos. This was the world of James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. Their lives were tethered to the lighthouse, a rhythm of endless tasks, filling the oil lamps, polishing the massive lens, and scribbling notes in the logbook. Every day mirrored the last, a grind of precision in a place that offered no mercy. That logbook was more than a record. It was their voice, their proof of existence in a world cut off from all else. Weather updates, supply notes, the light's steady hum, all etched in ink. James Ducat, 43, led the trio as principal keeper. A seasoned hand with the Northern Lighthouse Board, he was unflappable, a rock against the storm. Thomas Marshall, 28, his assistant, was reserved but keen-eyed, always scanning the horizon. Donald MacArthur, 40, the relief keeper, brought a rough energy, his laughter a rare spark in the gloom, though he chafed at the island's solitude. They were a unit forged by duty, their lives woven into the lighthouse's pulse. But the Flannan Isles gave no quarter. Winter storms roared in, sealing the keepers off for weeks. The wind shrieked through the tower's stones, and the sea churned with a violence that rattled their bones. Still, the light held. It had to, until December 15th, 1900. The last words were ordinary. Wind end by W, sea rough, Ducat irritable, then nothing. The pen stopped. What broke that rhythm? What stilled their hands? The Flannan Isles swallowed the answers. For 10 days, the light turned on its own, a ghost in the tower watching over an empty island. Then the relief crew came and found nothing but questions. 10 days after the last log entry on December 26th, 1900, a relief crew battled the Atlantic to reach Eileen Moor. The lighthouse loomed ahead, its beam cutting through the mist, a silent sentinel that hadn't dimmed. But as the boat neared, No one waved from the shore, no smoke rose from the chimney, just stillness. Led by Joseph Moore, the crew docked and climbed the slick stone steps. They called out, "James, Thomas, Donald," but the wind swallowed their voices. The door creaked open under Moore's hand, revealing a tower frozen in time. Inside, the keepers were gone. Coats hung neatly on pegs. The oil lamp sat full, ready to burn. The place felt alive, yet impossibly empty. Then came the table. A meal, bread, cold meat, a pot of tea sat untouched, as if the men had stepped away mid-bite. No rush, no spill, just a scene paused mid-breath. Nearby, a clock stared back, its hands locked at 3:10. Wound daily, it had run down days ago, proof no one had touched it since. The logbook offered its last whisper. Entries ran to December 15th. "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all," wrote Thomas Marshall. Then blank pages, 10 days of nothing. Outside, the lamp still turned, its mechanism flawless. The keepers hadn't abandoned their post, not willingly. Moore searched the island. The landing platforms, east and west, showed no boats missing, but at the west landing a rope dangled loose, torn by wind or wave. Iron railings nearby bent like straw, a hint of nature's wrath. Yet no blood, no debris, no bodies. Joseph Moore felt it, a weight in the air, a chill beyond the wind. He later wrote, "The place felt wrong, like something had been and gone." The crew lit the lamp and left, their report a plea for answers. The Northern Lighthouse Board stepped in. Their verdict? An accident, swept away by a wave, perhaps during a storm. But the evidence didn't fit. No storm raged after December 15th, no wreckage washed ashore. The investigation ended with more questions than it began. 3 men, a locked tower, a silent island. What took them? The Flannan Isles held its tongue. 3 men vanished from a locked lighthouse on a silent island. No bodies, no witnesses, only theories remain. What force stole the keepers of Eileen Moore? Let's explore the possibilities. The Northern Lighthouse Board pointed to nature's fury, a rogue wave. These freak swells, towering, unpredictable, can strike without warning. On December 15th, 1900, the logbook noted rough seas before calm returned. Picture this. The keepers, drawn outside to secure a rope or check the cliffs, stand at the west landing. A wall of water rises 70 feet high, maybe more, and sweeps them into the Atlantic. The bent railings and torn ropes support it. But why no debris? No trace on a calm sea days later? The wave theory holds water until it doesn't. Then there's the uncanny. The Flannan Isles sit in a sea steeped in folklore, tales of spirits, kelpies and vengeful waves. Some whisper the keepers crossed an unseen line. Locals spoke of a presence, an entity tied to the cliffs, jealous of the light. Did it lure them out, silence their voices and leave the tower untouched? The untouched meal, the stopped clock, too neat for chaos, some say. A supernatural hand fits the silence, but it defies the logbook's calm final words. Or perhaps the answer lies closer, within the men themselves. Isolation breeds strain. 3 souls trapped on a rock with only wind and sea for company. Imagine a spark. Donald MacArthur, restless and rough, clashes with Duckett's iron rule. A fight erupts, tempers flare, fists fly, one falls, then panic. The survivors, guilt-ridden, flee to the cliffs or sea, leaving the tower as it was. No blood, no mess, just a staged exit. Each theory pulls a thread. Nature's wrath, a spectral pull, or human collapse. The rogue wave fits the damage, but not the calm. The supernatural explains the stillness, but lacks proof. The fight accounts for motive, but stumbles on logistics. The Flannan Isles defy a single truth. Maybe it was all three: a storm, a shadow, a breaking point, or something we'll never grasp. What do you believe? Nature, spirits, or men unmade by their own hands? The keeper's fate whispers through the theories, daring us to choose. The Flannan Isles lighthouse stands as it did in 1900, a silent witness to the vanishing of James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. 3 men erased from a locked tower, their fate a riddle etched into the cliffs of Eileen Moor. The relief crew sailed away with no answers, their report a thin shield against the unknown. The Northern Lighthouse Board called it an accident, a wave perhaps, but the pieces never aligned. No storm, no wreckage, just a void. The untouched meal, the frozen clock, the blank logbook, they linger like echoes, defying every theory we've traced. Over a century later, the mystery endures. Rogue waves, spectral hands, human breaking points. Each pulls us closer, yet leaves us grasping. It's inspired poems, songs, even a film, The Vanishing. In 2019, a tale that refuses to fade. The Flannan Isles hold their secrets in the wind, the waves, the stones, whispering to those who dare to listen. What took the keepers? A force of nature, a shadow beyond, or their own unravelling minds? We may never know. What do you